Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy. Welcome back to another video. So there is now a new inspirational sports movie out in theaters right now, Gran Turismo. Let's talk about it.
Modern movie review.
Okay, so right off the bat, I'm going to go ahead and give a couple quick disclaimers here. So for one, I want to go ahead and say that I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was fantastic, but I have a different experience than you guys who are currently watching this video probably do. So I'm going to go ahead and list off a couple of biases that I have that might have made me rate this movie higher than some of the people watching this movie would have. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So for one, growing up, my favorite movie was Cars, and it was literally my entire childhood. There's a couple aspects of this movie that really remind me of the Cars movie, and so for me, it's very nostalgic towards that. Also, growing up, me and my dad used to go see the Daytona 500 every year, and we used to watch a bunch of NASCAR races together, and that's a very fond memory for me, and in this movie there is a strong connection between the main character and his father, and there's a lot of character growth around those two characters and their relationship. So that to me definitely hit really close to home because me and my father used to watch these races together, and it was really nice to see this connection in the movie. And then another thing that I wanted to go ahead and say, I just bought a PlayStation, so I guess I'm team PlayStation now, and this is technically a PlayStation movie because it's about a PlayStation game. And then another thing is this is a video game based movie apparently, and it's a video game movie, and that's really interesting to me. So with that all that being said, those are kind of my biases towards this movie. I'm ready to go ahead and dive right into this and talk about this. So gonna go ahead and say, spoiler alert for those of you guys who have not seen this movie. It is a really great movie, and there are a lot of sequences in it that I definitely think are better if you don't see them coming. So with that being said, if you haven't seen the movie, go ahead and click away now. You can add this to like a watch later playlist or something like that and come back to it later, but we're gonna go ahead and dive right into this. So right off the bat, I call this a sports movie, and it is very inspirational, and it definitely has all the same beats of a regular sports movie. There's literally training montages where he's like doing all the physical exercise and stuff like that, and there's literally competitions. Whether or not people agree with this, racing is definitely considered a sport, and it is one of the most popular sports, I would say, in the world. I know that in America, it's not nearly as popular. It's kind of like soccer or football, the proper way of, saying it. Is a very world-renowned thing, but in America, it's not very popular. And in America, racing specifically is just seen as kind of like the redneck professional sport. And I think it's kind of like disappointing because NASCAR is pretty cool. It's pretty fun to watch a lot of those races. But that being said, this is F1. This is really interesting. And something that I like about this is this year has been kind of the year of biopics, and this, in a sense, is a biopic because it's something that's based off of a true story. It's telling the history of something that's pretty recent. And then it's a sports movie because it's about the sports of racing, obviously. And it's also a video game movie because it's based off of Gran Turismo, and Gran Turismo's influence definitely has a huge impact on the way they shot some of these scenes and the way that all of the characters in this movie who play the game, you can see their outlook on racing is a lot different from all the regular racers. And so it's really interesting to me how it juggled those like three different kind of like genres and ways of storytelling into one movie, and I think they did a brilliant job with this. So one of the first scenes early on in the movie that I really enjoy is our main character Jann goes to some little like bonfire under a bridge to go party out with a couple of people late at night where they're probably not supposed to be lighting a fire, and they're probably not supposed to be hanging out. So when they're heading out or whatever, they're kind of dicking around. Some of the friends are drunk in the car and kind of distracting his driving, and a cop goes behind them, goes to pull them over, and they're all freaking out because they're like, oh shit, we're so screwed, we're gonna get in so much trouble. And Jann kind of realizes, okay, well, the cops are stopped, and there's two cars that got pulled over, and they were going to the other car first, and he was like, you know what? I'm pretty sure I could beat the cops. So they go, there's a little car chase scene. It's very quick and simple, but it's very effective. It's a quick, like, I want to say maybe like a minute long scene where he goes around and he does a couple curves and then he does a little drift and then backs into an area, whatever. Very fun stuff. And something that I really like about it is this gives off one of the first moments in the movie that is very video game-esque, is after they escape the cops, a little like achievement thing comes up on the screen like mission accomplished, cops avoided, or whatever. And then they continue on with the movie, and I love the way that popped up on the screen. That was so cute, and I liked the stylistic look that this movie has. Every time it like shows you things in kind of like a video game-esque format, I think that it does a great job. I think it's a very unique in that aspect, because when you think of sports movies, something that is very prominent in them, obviously, is going to be all the inspirational stuff, all the great heartfelt speeches, which you get a lot of in this movie. But that, to me, was something that gave it like this really unique flair, because it's not just about sports, it's about esports as well, which I think is huge. Now, something else I want to talk about, the acting in this movie is fantastic. Part of the main reason why I went to go see this movie is because this is the first movie that Orlando Bloom has done in a really, really long time. I don't think his acting in this movie was all that great, actually. I feel like he was one of the most, like, basic parts of this movie. He's kind of, like, much higher up than I thought he would have been, as opposed to, like, the movie kind of made it seem like those three were going to be a team. Orlando Bloom, David Harbour's character, and then Jann. I can't remember the name of the actor who played him, but he did a phenomenal job. I loved it. I thought that he was incredible in this. But what's it called? Orlando Bloom's character is more like just on the business front of things. So like he's in it a lot, but he doesn't really have much to do the majority of the movie. Which I thought was interesting because it starts off with him explaining his brilliant idea to all the people at Nissan and being like, we need to get one of these eSIM racers on our team and, you know, prove that they have what it takes. And it was cool, but I also thought that his character after that was very like minor, and I thought was, you know, it was what it was. I don't think it was bad per se, but I was expecting a little bit more. Now that being said, stars of the movies, huge takeaways. If you're a big fan of David Harbour, I think this is one of his best performances ever. He gives some of the greatest speeches of all times, and here's where my Cars bias kind of comes in. He gives off great Doc Hudson vibes in this. So in this movie, he is playing Jack. Can't remember the last name right now, but he's somebody who is an American race car driver who is like incredible, one of the like biggest like names in racing of his time or whatever. He was a very respected person, but he quit early, and a lot of people were always kind of like thought it was really weird that he quit early, and that's kind of a mystery through line that we're kind of waiting to see what plays out with it for the majority of the movie. And I think that he does a great job playing somebody who definitely has been in Jann's shoes and is giving him some of this advice that he really needs to hear. And I think that he also does a great job with, when we were first introduced to him, he thinks that this is a terrible idea. You can tell he cares so much about the safety of the people, and he thinks that it's very dangerous. And so he's putting up a very like hard front, kind of explaining to people, hey, if you don't think you're tough enough for this, which I don't think you're tough enough for this, you should just go home. And the way he like portrays this is so hard and so tough, and you really think, oh my god, this guy's kind of a dick. But you realize as the movie goes on that part of the reason he's warning people and telling people to go home is because he's kind of still traumatized from an accident that he had when he was younger, and he doesn't want that to happen to other people. So he's a very like caring person, and he spends a lot of time kind of like reminiscing on the past. And I think that's something that's really great about this movie is the relationship between Jann and Jack in this movie is just fantastic. It grows so well, and the way that they kind of like come together to become this like tag team is brilliant. It's literally Lightning McQueen and Doc Hudson in the first Cars movie. It is so good. So going from that, I also want to talk about the cinematography. Is incredible. This is a racing movie, and you can tell they know how to film racing scenes. This was so much fun. From one, the scenes that you see in the trailer where he's driving an actual race car, and then it kind of like shows the race car like falling apart, and then it's him in his bedroom. That scene is brilliant. The way that they do it in the movie is so good. And then there's a lot of sequences like that where it's like he's just racing on like his computer or whatever, and then the car like gets built in around him, and then he's actually racing on the course and stuff like that. Very, very fun. I think that all of the like montages where they're kind of like showing, okay, here's where he is, he's on lap 4 whatever, and he's in this place, now he's on lap whatever, he's in this place, and then it will get to like the final lap, and then it shows us pretty much the entirety of the final lap for all of these different races. And it's so fun watching just everything play out. I think that all of the overhead drone shots were great. There's some sequences where it's in slow motion, and there's some sequences where you're with the cars and it doesn't necessarily feel that fast, and then occasionally they'll have a shot where the camera's just still and all of the cars zoom past it to kind of remind you these cars are going really freaking fast. Because something that I loved is this movie did a great job encapsulating how it actually feels to be watching a race in person. Like I said, me and my father used to go to the Daytona 500. I want to say it was like at least 4 or 5 years we would go to the Daytona 500, and it was nothing really can give you that adrenaline of watching a race live, but this movie does a really great job of picturing it for people who haven't seen it. You still get that rush of adrenaline when the cars go by. And I think it is so much fun. Like I said, cinematography in this is beautiful. All of the racing sequences are beautiful. I had a blast with this movie and I thought it was a whole lot of fun. Some other things I want to talk about, the overall story, brilliant. I think that they do a great job of like building up the characters and having them have like a lot of like really great things happening to them, and then when things come crashing down, they crash down hard. You can really feel like the rock bottom moments. Like I said, this movie made me cry. There's a lot of emotional sequences in it. One of the hardest ones, and this is where I really want to give the actor credit. I can't remember his name, but I'm gonna put it up. He does such a great job. So about the halfway point of the movie or whatever, or more towards, I want to say it's probably more like 3/4 of the way through the movie, there's a sequence where he gets into like a really, really bad accident during a race. His car flies up, flips, does a bunch of flips, goes through a fence, and something that happens in it is it hits and killed a civilian, which is very heartbreaking, and it's a very, very sad thing. And this is kind of where Orlando Bloom's like character to me is just like, oh, okay, because like he's kind of a dick. And at first I was like, that's interesting. And then this sequence kind of like really sold me on the fact that, okay, he's kind of a dick. He's just like a regular business dude. What's it called? Somebody died, a civilian, somebody who was watching the race and not actually in the race died. And Nissan's going through all these financial problems. A lot of people are thinking eSIM racers shouldn't even be racing. So many bad things are happening here. And I think that it's really interesting how that plays out. And then the main actor, there's a sequence where he finally wakes up from the hospital. He was severely injured, and Orlando Bloom's character is there, David Harbour's character is there. They're both in the room, kind of comforting him, talking to him. And he gets up and he's wondering, oh my God, what's going on? Is everybody okay? And they break the news to him that an innocent person died, and he breaks down. And it is such an emotional sequence. The way that they portray this is insane. The facial expressions that he gives off are insane. He like is literally like his jaw is quivering. You can tell he is broken by this news. And that sequence is insane. It was incredibly emotional. Very like hard to watch it and not cry. And yeah, I thought that scene was beautiful. I don't know if this guy is gonna get an Oscar nomination for this movie, but I think this is one of the best acting performances I've seen, because there's so much range. He starts off as a very timid person, and you can really like feel his anxiety while he's anxious, and as he builds and grows more confidence, you can literally like feel that like rise out of him, and you can like, oh my God, just the way he portrays things in this is incredible. The main actor in this movie, chef's kiss, literally freaking killed it. But yeah, acting in this movie was fantastic. I think David Harbour did fantastic. I think he did fantastic. The father and son sequences, this was one of the last couple of things I wanted to touch on. They do such a great job of building this relationship and kind of showing that like, yes, it's more typical for like a son to be looking out for the father and for the father to, be proud of the son. But something that I really like is one of the lines of dialogues towards the end of the movie. They're finally kind of having a conversation after the father's kind of been very dismissive about his son because all he does is play video games and he doesn't really understand it. And he realizes that he's never been really supportive and he should have been more supportive, and he gives him a hug, apologizes, and he breaks down crying in this sequence. The actor who plays the father, I should know this name because he's in so many movies that I love. But he does such a great job portraying the emotions here of a father who feels like he has kind of failed his son in a sense. And it's heart-wrenching. Their little heart-to-heart moment is great. And something that I love about it is towards the end, Jann explains, he's like, well, I'm doing this for you, father. I'm actually really, really proud of you. And he has a sticker that is the logo of his father's like soccer team that he used to play on when he was a professional footballer. And I'm like, holy crap, that is so emotional. And like, I broke down during that scene. I literally started crying because like the way they showed that father-son connection was insane. And hearing the son say to the father that he's also proud of him was just so like heart-wrenching, because I love my dad and there's so many things that he does that I'm like, that's insane. I can't imagine how he does it. He's literally my hero. So seeing that kind of moment was just chef's kiss. It was so good. But yeah, this movie is fantastic. If you haven't seen it, I would totally recommend seeing it. But right now there's a writer strike and actor strike, so I'm not allowed to promote movies. I stand with the writers and the actors. I hope that they get their fair wages that they deserve. Hopefully their next meeting goes a little bit better, because I know the writers just recently got a meeting, and apparently it was just like a 2-hour lecture from all of the like big producers or whatever, like the CEOs at Disney, Bob Iger, what's it called? I think it's Saffron for Warner Brothers, whatever. They basically just lectured the writers for forever, and kind of had like a Homelander-esque speech, and we're like, you should be grateful that we're doing what we're doing. And I heard it went really poorly, but hopefully things get resolved soon, because I really think that the CEOs need to stop being greedy and just pay the writers the money that they deserve, because scripts and films and all of the above, it's a miracle that when they're done they become like full coherent stories. And I don't think you realize how much time and effort really goes into making a movie with all the characters and all of the character depth and all of the arcs and all the little idiosyncrasies. Like, it's not easy to make a movie, and I respect all those people so much for all the hard work that they do. And yeah, I just wanted to quickly put that out there, that I stand with them. But this was a great movie, and I really, really enjoyed it. But yeah, that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and give my final score for this movie. Like I said, I'm probably biased. I'm gonna put this movie really high. I know a lot of people are probably gonna be like, dude, it's just a racing movie. To me, racing is very, very important, and they portrayed everything I wanted about this film. Was perfect, down to the last minute details. Literally, one of my only flaws was the fact that Orlando Bloom in it wasn't in it as much as I thought he would. And some of the times he was in it, he didn't feel like he was fully there. But it was a great movie, and I really enjoyed it. I'm gonna give this movie a solid 87 out of 100. Really, really good. Really, really enjoyed it. But that being said, that was it for this video, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and hopefully I'll see you guys in the next one. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to like down below. Feel free to subscribe. I really appreciate it. But I'm out. Till next time. Peace out. Pow, pow, pow.
He wanted me to trouble first, I did this. We planned a day, then we did this. Wanna be in love with the girls with the kisses. Don't give a damn, I'll rid this. I like this when I run the distance. I run a 5K, you go ballistics. I wanna live within the business. Buy more than what's on the clearances. You're getting big cause I know you're a physicist. I wanna deny this shit, I'm unlimited.